Hey Ian, hey Bo.
Hey, Chris. Hello, Hey, my man. How are you?
I just got done watching your movie.
Great.
I enjoyed it. It was funny. I was telling Ed that it comes out the same week. We're doing all these interviews the same week. A horror survival, horror tropey like video game comes out on PS4 called Until Dawn. So it was great playing it all last night and then watching the movie today, and just, it's.
Yeah, that'll be when I get back from LA next week. I plan to spend some quality time with that.
So you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's good. I like the 80s feel of it. I had a couple questions. One of which was, how come you guys didn't do the grainy, 35 millimeter quality throughout the whole thing? In fact, how come you shot it in HD and not in 35 millimeter?
I can take that one. My plan was always to shoot it in 35, and initially we were going to, but by the time we got the film going, all the film labs in Canada where we were shooting had shut down.
Oh, no.
That state of affairs. Yeah, so in order for me to shoot up in Sudbury and do it on film, I would have had to ship the film from Sudbury to Toronto to New York, and then get it back. And, the dailies would have been, weeklies. And I just felt not good about sending everything off, on that whole journey. So I ended up having to go digital, just, through circumstance. I initially wanted to even use the same equipment that they shot with back then, but, then reality kicks in, and your producer says, yeah. So, I did my best.
That's really expensive.
Yeah. And the reason why I didn't put the grain throughout, that's an interesting question. We just didn't want to overdo it. I felt like if I set it up that way, and I kept bringing it back in subtle ways periodically, that would be enough to sell the illusion to make you feel like you were watching something from 84 without actually forcing you to sit through a completely scratched print for the whole way. That was another reason. And the third reason was that the scratches that I was using from Cinegrain, they come on sometimes like a 30-second or a 15-second loop. So if you play them for too long in a row, your eye will pick up on the pattern of the scratches, and it looks pretty fake. So for all those reasons, we had to kind of be a little bit more subtle with that, I thought. Just give people, the sense of it.
Speaking of eyes, there was a question I'd asked Ed about, and we talked about make sure no spoilers, but there's some CGI used in the movie with a certain kind of kill, and I was a little disappointed with that. I was like, that's so easily done. Why'd you guys do CGI?
You would think it was so easily done, and maybe with a different crew. I have great guys, but to be honest, on the day that went down, we had every intention of shooting it practically. So what we did is, my guys showed up with a bucket of cow eyes, actual cow eyeballs.
Cool.
And we were supposed to use, it was very cool. I was excited as well. Then I saw the cow eyes, and, they're different than human eyes, clearly. So they're quite large. The pupils ginormous. So when they tried to put the eye into the stock head that we were using, that just would not work. They just didn't compute that right. And when I tried to go on a macro close-up, an extreme close-up of the cow eye when I pierced it and I have that footage, it just didn't work. You knew right away that was not a human eye. They actually even had a couple of goat eyes, which is even weirder, because those were like the square lens, the square pupils, and you're like, oh, it's a Satanist movie. So I tried, I shot it, and when it was just a disaster in the edit and we could not make that eye work, we actually had to go CGI the eye. And to be honest, we had $0 in the budget for visual effects. So at that point, it was a scramble to figure out how we were going to pay for this eye, because we had, intended to do everything in camera.
Zero budget for effects sounds exactly like the way 80s horror slasher movies were shot.
Yeah. Except instead, of going to the abattoir and grabbing the buckets of, cow filler, since that wasn't available to us. And the modern way to, as Ian was saying, scramble and do that is kind of digitally, but we did push every possible way to do as much practically as we could get away with. And, sometimes you just compromise because of circumstance, but, that was always Ian's motivation from jump, was how do we make this look as authentic as possible, and you do what you can.
No, I was just thinking back to that scratch question. You're also dealing with your producer and with people above you that are arguing against any scratches. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't want a single scratch in there because they didn't. It's not that they don't get what we're going for. It's just that they're worried people are going to think it's a really old film and they're going to just turn it off and they're going to be turned off by the scratches. So,
did you point out to your producers that it says right on the DVD, old school 80s horror slasher movie? I mean,
yes.
There's
a lot of irony in Hollywood, it turns out.
Again, Ed and I were talking about how Star Wars is going to be shot in the new, in 35 millimeter, the new Star Wars, and I was like, everyone's doing this again. They want to bring back this old school feeling to movies, and this is really cool.
I agree with you. The first time that I shot on digital, but it had some advantages for sure.
Yeah.
When we got to the post, so I was pretty happy about that. There was a trade-off basically. I lost some things while we were shooting, but I did gain some flexibility in the post.
Now, were you guys big fans of Rob Zombie? Because your killer looks like Rob Zombie.
Depends on the Rob Zombie you're talking about. If we're talking the Astro Creep years, sure. I'm not crazy about him having remade Halloween at all, but all right.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking of Rob. Maybe he was there, at the back of my mind when we were designing the killer, but yeah, he didn't really factor in. It's a nice little ode.
Did you guys go through a bunch of old 80s slasher movies before working on the film, the script, and filming it, and going, okay, this is what we need, this is what 80s slasher was really, really like? Did you do like a huge binge watch marathon with the cast?
We didn't do a binge. I binged on my own. And Bo, I'm sure, binged. But the cast themselves, I sent them recommendations of films to watch. There was only so much we could do. The production snapped together so quickly that, I basically said, I made sure that they watched with the Friday the 13th, the original.
Yep.
That was kind of a touchstone. I wanted them to get the vibe of that movie for sure. And outside of that, I didn't have, a lot of time to work with them on that. But I certainly watched all my old favorites and got back in the zone, and I think Bo did too.
I would be lying. Yeah, I would probably did not just binge watch, because my entire life has sort of been the binge watching of slashers to career or another. So yeah, there were certain movies for sure I wanted to go back and watch, prior to the shoot. Friday the 13th, certainly one of them, and Halloween. But some of the for me, some of the more obscure stuff, Watcher in the Woods and Hell Night is a big one for me. There's actually a fair amount of DNA in the script from that movie, surprisingly. And so yeah, those movies I cut my teeth on in the first place. So it didn't feel like I've got to refresh the memories of those so much as let's just make sure we're not completely ripping it off, as opposed to making the more gentle tip of the hat.
You mentioned Watcher in the Woods. You know what? Nobody mentions that among horror movie aficionados because it's a Disney movie, but it is one of the scariest movies I will ever say I've ever watched as a kid.
Yeah, well, Disney also did something Wicked This Way Comes, which is also a very good horror film. And it was when they were doing slightly more daring things with the Disney brand.
Which they're doing, which they are doing these days with the Marvel movies and owning Star Wars. Those movies are not going to be 100% kid friendly.
Yeah, nor should they be. Something Wicked This Way Comes is, if memory serves, either PG or G, one or the other, and it has some true disturbing imagery in it, and also an incredible performance by Jonathan Pryce. But yeah, something like Watcher in the Woods is. It's kind of a disturbing movie, but I'm of the mind that children of a certain age, I'm not talking, infants or anything, but kids when they become 11, 12, 13, there's that initial fascination with the dark and the idea of mortality and things like that as their brains first to turn those ideas over. And watching movies is a very safe way to address those very real, common childhood fears.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What was a big movie that influenced each one of you growing up? You as a writer and you as a director.
Are we talking horror? I would say,
Yeah, let's stick to horror movies.
Okay. The first 3 that come to mind were Jaws. Jaws was a very big one for me. I don't know, where that fits in the horror canon, but I happened to be going water skiing the day after I saw it.
It's horror canon. It's probably monster movie.
Yeah.
Man versus nature.
That one had a huge effect on me. Jaws had a big effect on me. Also, Friday the 13th, when I first saw it, I was on video and I had one of those old 70s couches, and I think my folks were watching it, and they let me watch it, and I ended up, when Jason popped up at the end, I screamed so hard, and I jumped up and fell back over the couch and flipped over on my head. So that was a big memory for me, influenced me, and also, The Legend of Hell House scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. It caused me to run out of my house screaming. So, all those 3, it's interesting because a lot of the big movies that I remember when I was younger are horror films. They had such a big impact on me compared to the other stuff I was watching.
Yeah. For me, it would be The Thing, Carbon 82 version of that is depending the day you catch me, maybe my favorite movie of all time. I saw Alien in the theater. Certainly was very disturbing because I was far too young to be seeing that. And Halloween and Evil Dead almost sit side by side in my head because I saw them not too far apart from one another, and again at a completely inappropriate age. And ever since, it was just, you're at a point you're chasing the dragon with horror films because there are a handful that when you first see them, just rattle you at the core and you're terrified of them. And as I get older, I find that I'm just trying to catch that sensation again. And there are just so very few horror films that manage those kind of scares anymore.
Gotcha. Well, hey guys, I enjoyed the film. Loved the throwback to an era when I couldn't watch horror movies unless I snuck them past my parents. And appreciate you coming on the show to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having us.
Cool.
Yeah, great.
Look forward to your next adventure.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, buddy.